In this video, we're going to look at soundproofing neighbour noise from below. If you have a flat or apartment and you're suffering from TV, conversation, general neighbour noise coming from that flat or apartment below, in this video, we're going to look at what you can install to the floor to reduce that noise. So if you're hearing TV, conversation, maybe the neighbours have a gathering of people in that flat or apartment down below, here's just some things that you can install to the floor which doesn't involve cutting open the floor and insulating and things like that. It's something you can install on top of the floor to reduce that noise. So this is a great solution for people with concrete floors. Maybe you have a new build property and have chipboard floors, or maybe you don't own that area beneath the floor. You might have big old oak floorboards, but you don't own that area beneath your floorboards and you can only install something on top of the floorboards. This is something you can do. First of all, you need to sound deaden the floor. Now, whether that's a concrete floor or wooden floorboards or chipboard, you're covering that floor area with a viscoelastic membrane or a mass loaded vinyl. And here we're using a 10 kg per meter squared viscoelastic membrane or mass loaded vinyl. On top of that mass loaded vinyl or viscoelastic membrane that you sound deaden the floor with, use a heavy duty acoustic underlay. Now, we like to use an acoustic or a Quiet Floor Plus. Now, most soundproofing material suppliers will supply these products. You're looking for a anti-vibrational mat followed by a foam followed by an anti-vibrational mat. So it's about 15 mil thick, and this is just laid on top of that mass loaded vinyl or viscoelastic membrane. Your carpet is then glued on top of that. Now, we install this product slightly different to how the material suppliers recommend. We actually take off the skirting in the room and we install the heavy duty underlay right up to the walls, maybe a 4 mil gap all the way around, but then we put the skirting on top so there is no gap. We create that air tightness in the room by installing this product. Now, you might be asking, hold on a minute, how do you install the carpet? Well, where do the grippers go? Well, what we don't do is we don't cut a great big hole around the edge to install grippers. We actually glue the carpet on top of this heavy duty underlay. So we're using a heavy duty contact adhesive and we're gluing the carpet to it. Now, I've done this in my own house and I've done it to hundreds of other properties, and my kids have written off their bedroom floor twice already, and we've removed the carpet just the same as you would do in the traditional way. It's just a bit more stickier than normal, and the heavy duty underlay is still the heavy duty underlay that's not been affected. So you can glue the carpet down it and you can still hoover over the top of it as if you would if it's on grippers. It's just a different way of doing things. Now, this solution does raise the floor height by 20 millimeters or 2 centimeters. Is because you have that 5 mil mass loaded vinyl or the viscoelastic membrane, which is 5 mil thick, and then you're installing the 15 mil heavy duty underlay on top. Now, this is generally fine for carpet. You can gain that in the threshold strip of the floor. It doesn't create a step or anything. Now, this is different from property to property, and depending on your floor finish, you might have to mix up the layers. For example, if you're using a laminate or click floor instead of a carpet, maybe install the heavy duty acoustic underlay first, and then install a 5 mil ply or 5 mil hardwood before installing your click floor or laminate floor or hardwood finish floor. Because if you install the hardwood finish floor or laminate floor on top of the heavy duty underlay, it will create too much movement and you potentially would pinch your feet if you're walking around in bare feet. Okay, I hope I didn't go into too much detail with that, but I hope that helped. Now, what a lot of people in the UK are installing is the new DBX board. So instead of using the heavy duty underlay, which is 15 mil thick, they're using the new DBX board, which is 15 mil thick. Now, this is an environmentally friendly product. It's cardboard and sand, so it doesn't have all those smells of glue and rubber that you get with the heavy duty underlay. You still sound deaden the floor with a viscoelastic membrane or a 10 kg mass loaded vinyl, but then you install the DBX board on top of that. Now, how it works with the DBX board is when those noisy neighbours are making noise, you're hearing that TV conversation, that muffled noise come through. The DBX board has sand particles in it because it's cardboard and sand, and those sand particles vibrate and they struggle to then transmit their sound energy to the next layer. The next layer is your finished floor. The DBX board reduces a wider range of frequencies, and you can also install a much wider range of finished floor surfaces to this DBX board. For example, carpet, you just install it in the traditional way with grippers. You're just using a longer nail than you would normally, and you're just going straight through the product into the floorboards down below. So it's a great product for reducing airborne noise, and some homeowners are getting amazing reductions in noise from this product compared to using the heavy duty underlay. Again, you are raising the floor height by that 2 centimeters, that 20 mil, by using this combination, but it is one of the most popular methods that's being used at the moment. So check out the DBX board, the link is in the description down below. For those of you that have a wooden joist construction and you can get to that floor void down below, your main objective is to fill that void with an RW3 rock wool. So that's it, pull up the floorboards and insulate that void down below. If you have a hollow void there, sound will resonate. If you're hearing a muffled noise, that is the sound of noise resonating, or that's the noise of sound resonating. That conversation, that TV coming through. So you want to insulate that hollow void, stop that sound bouncing around in that hollow void. And here we're going to remove the floorboards and insulate with an RW3 rock wool at 60 kg per meter cube. That's the density of the rock wool we like to use. Now you don't have to pull up the entire floor. If you have floorboards, maybe just do every third floorboard. If you have chipboard, then it is going to be a bit more tricky. It is going to be fiddly. You're not going to get to every area because potentially you're going to have stud walls built over sections of the chipboard floor, but you just want to cut open the chipboard and get to as many areas, get as much rock wool in there as you can. Don't put the rock wool in too tight, but don't put it in too loose either. Try and fill that void. If you have a wooden joist construction and you have the skills and capability of cutting open the floor and filling that void with rock wool, this really should be your main objective, because it's the foundation of any soundproof floor system, is to fill that hollow void and then build up the layers from then. Filling the floor void with rock wool will give you a noticeable reduction in the noise from neighbours down below. Now, what about those impact noises of doors banging, clonking and clanging, even footsteps coming from those neighbours down below and waking you up and disturbing your evenings? Well, here we need to consider isolation. That means removing the floorboards and installing a resilient layer on top of the joist below the floorboards for the best results. So this would mean a lot more disruption, because we have to remove the floorboards to expose the joist and install that resilient layer. It's a lot more disruptive because it's a lot more difficult to reduce those impact noise and structural borne noises getting into the floor and vibrating through the bed and waking you up. The first thing we're going to consider to reduce impact noises is going over the top of the existing floorboards. So imagine you've pulled up the floor, you've insulated your floor and you've put your floorboards back, or maybe you've taken a section of the floor to insulate the floor and you've put the original floorboards back on. Sealed it all up, made it airtight, maybe sound deadened the floor with a viscoelastic membrane or mass loaded vinyl. The next layer is a resilient layer, and there are lots of overlay boards. Every soundproofing material supplier is selling you an overlay board, and it's normally a chipboard with some sort of resilient layer such as a foam or some sort of heavy duty underlay adhered to a chipboard finish, and these boards are just laid on top of your existing floorboards, an overlay board. They're not glued or screwed to your existing floorboards, and they're isolated from the walls all the way around. So when you step into that room, maybe stepping off the landing, you're stepping onto that floating floor. They're glued together, isolated from the walls all the way around, and therefore noise will find it very difficult to get into that new floating floor. Now you can probably tell this solution does raise the floor height by quite a lot, so it's not for everybody. Now what we like to use is a direct to joist board. This is where we remove the floorboards and we insulate the floor, we install the mass loaded vinyl to the floor, and then we install a direct to joist board, and this comprises of a anti-vibrational mat, a foam, an anti-vibrational mat, followed by a cement particle board. So the thickness of this product is about 37 millimeters, and it replaces your floorboard. So your floorboards, they're recycled, and this product goes directly on top of the joist. it's not glued or screwed to the joists, and it's isolated from the walls all the way around, and therefore noise from down below finds it very difficult to get into that floor and vibrate through the bed and wake you up. So the overall space loss, based on you having a 22mm floorboards or 22mm chipboard, the space loss is only 15mm to your floor, and you've reduced that airborne noise and you've reduced that impact noise in only 15mm. Now, what sort of reduction noise would you get from this direct to joist board floating floor system? You can expect an 80% reduction in impact noise from the source room to the room down below. So that means from your room to the neighbours down below. From your neighbours down below to your room, it's more like a 65% reduction in impact noise. For airborne noise, yeah, it's more like an 80% reduction in airborne noise both ways. But remember, the noise is coming from the walls. And before you do any of this work, before you consider doing any of this work to the floor, put your finger in one ear and put your ear on the walls and listen how much noise you're hearing up the walls. If you can hear clear conversation up the walls, or a lot of the noise from the neighbours down below coming up your walls, maybe consider not installing one of these big heavy duty solutions. Maybe use one of the ones I mentioned at the beginning of the video, just a heavy duty underlay with a mass loaded vinyl viscoelastic membrane, because you just will not get your money's worth out of these bigger, thicker systems with more disruption if you're hearing the noise up the walls. There are many ways to soundproof a floor, and there are just a few ways in which we like to reduce the noise from neighbour making noise to get into the flat or apartment above. I hope you can take some inspiration away from this video. And I might produce a 7 ways to soundproof a floor video, just like my 7 ways to soundproof a wall video, but I hope this video has helped. I'll see you in the next video.